I don't know.
Nagutom na.
Pag sinapukit sa bunganga, ngipin mo ang dessert mo.
I felt so proud about myself that I finally will make you. Sa'yo.
Ginagawa mo.
Difficult.
Difficulties.
Mystify.
Eye-opener.
Organize.
Perplexing.
Effortful.
Exhausting.
What can you say about the approach being used by our professor in teaching ethics?
Since there is no discussion, it is hard for me to understand the lesson fully. Sometimes when I am reading the lessons, I will find myself sleeping later on.
I can say that the approach being used by our professor in teaching ethics is moderate.
Sometimes I can't catch up with the way he gives directions, but still is kind and considerate.
So we are now experiencing the new normal, and we're slowly adjusting to its demands. And as what they say, change is inevitable, as we witnessed how the pandemic brought so much of it in our daily lives, and especially in the educational system of our country. So to resolve the need of this pandemic, we have to adjust, we have to compromise in almost everything. So the approach being utilized almost of all the teachers right now, wherein they send modules through an application that they agreed upon. They lectures through meetings, Google Meet is not the ideal setup, especially in the subject ethics, for it much needs clarification. Like for example, if the students have doubts and confusion on a particular part of a topic, they cannot immediately ask their teachers or professors for a clarification. So it's really hard. However, the good thing about Sir Don is that he sends modules which is detailed. He includes almost everything. So in order for you to study and in order for you to understand the topic, you really have to study it out in your mind, not just mere reading, because there's no way you can understand the topic in just mere reading and for the sake of just answering the activities and the learning task. You really have to put an effort, as what Sir Don is putting also.
The approach of our ethics teacher, he give a task or work in a Google Classroom.
It takes a little longer before the professor responds to my message, but I cannot blame him about it because I understand that he handled not only one section and he still have a lot of students to manage or notice.
The approach was a huge different from the usual because of the mode of learning today caused by the pandemic. But it is also understandable by this time because of most of us has the same struggle in the said circumstances.
I can say that it is cool sometimes, but because it is look like a reading mode because of how many pages that you scroll after you go to the end.
Did you find it difficult to learn ethics virtually? What were the challenges or struggles that you encountered while learning the course? And how did you deal with it?
Yes, it is difficult to learn ethics virtually. Since we are student-centered, we do learn in our own way, which is difficult because there is always a lot of questions in my mind that I can't really answer, and I am needing the presence of our teacher to clarify them. However, the teacher-student relationship has no connection, especially because it is online learning. So what I did to deal with it is to research some more information and more simpler definition to understand the lesson fully.
Yes, sometimes I find it difficult to learn ethics virtually. The challenges or struggles that I encounter while learning the course are the poor internet connections here in our province and the lack of technology. I deal with it through finding ways like the poor internet connection. Sometimes I'm going to computer shop or go to the places that have a fast internet connections. Lack of technology. I borrowed laptops to my friends just to cope up the lessons of our professors.
Yes, because it's so complicated that I can understand the lessons.
I think all of us find it difficult to learn ethics in a new normal setting. And first problem that we are facing is we are having a hard time adjusting to the predicaments of the new normal, and the usual problems were slow internet connection, the means of having an online class, and the signal also in our particular places. And I believe also that the struggles were not only meant in the physical and social aspect of life, but it also hit our mental toughness. Especially in ethics class, there's no way you can answer the learning tasks that are assigned by Sir Don if you don't put an effort on learning and studying the modules. And it hits our mental aspects because sometimes we feel drained, we feel overwhelmed of our readings because sometimes we are questioning ourselves if we have getting something from it, and sometimes we have this confusion on our self-study, doubts, and we cannot immediately approach or ask our teacher for a clarification, just like in a classroom setting. And I think teachers and students relationship isn't important, so we cannot feel something it in a new normal setting.
Yes, the challenges that I have encountered while learning this course is stress, slow internet connection. I can manage this or I can deal with it by thinking my future.
Yes, I was struggling comprehending the lessons because of too much informations or long readings. But with the help of some online videos related to a certain topic, I was finally able to understand it.
Yes, a bit because we have a limited ideas and we can't meet with other people to discuss with. But although there are still other ways like social media and other virtual tools, but still chatting with friends and classmates is quite different as compared to, reading the topics on the screen.
Yes, and the challenges or struggles that I encountered while I'm learning this course is the internet connection, because it is very hard to find a place where you can find the fast internet connection, and I deal with it through cheering myself that I will and I can do this because this is for my future.
What were your what ifs in your ethics class journey? Or state some advantages of taking the ethics class in a face-to-face setting.
What if the class is held in a face-to-face setting? I guess I could transcend my knowledge and ability to do all the activities on the subject.
My what ifs in our ethics class journey are: what if I can't handle this subject? What if it has a lot of difficulties to learn ethics since it has a lot of philosophy? What if I failed in the subject? What if I give up on the subject in the middle of my class journey? There are some advantages of having ethics class in face-to-face settings, such as students can gain greater understanding and have real-world examples from their professors and to other students. Improves social interactions with co-students and establish a better relationship or connections to the professors. And students can able to concentrate on their lessons since there will be less distractions than when you were at home.
I take a break if I am still stuck in the same topic. Pagkalipas ng ilang minuto, binabasa ko ito ulit upang maintindihan at makasagot ng tama sa mga katanungan.
So, what ifs? What ifs are the questions that saddens me the most? Because you got to imagine the experiences, the moments or the situation if it happens the otherwise. And imagine the relationships we got to build if we are in a face-to-face setting. Imagine the learnings we got to get to Sir Don if we are in a face-to-face setting. I know that it would be fun knowing that Sir Don is a happy person, I think so. And also, imagine the learning you get from your classmate if we are in a setting that we got to interact onto each other.
The advantage of learning ethics class in a face-to-face learnings, the lessons was understandable, especially you see your instructor doing his best or trying his best just to deliver his lessons well.
I think everything would be better if we had face-to-face classes compared to online classes, because in the face-to-face setting, everything in the topic would be discussed by the professor clearly and understandable.
As a nursing student, it is truly important to deal with ethics, especially our profession is considered to be a people-centered. We deal most of the time with people, and it is important that we are educated enough on our actions and our ways because it will reflect our personality in the end.
My what ifs in ethics class is, what if our class is face to face so that I can enjoy my new journey in my college life, and what if our class is face to face so that some of the lessons in ethics subjects that we don't know, that it is more enjoyable when it comes in face to face, and I think we gain more knowledge and new learnings in this subject.
What lesson do you think you relate to the most?
I think the lesson that I can relate to the most is the last lesson, which is virtue ethics. Because it talks about the moral character development of the person, which we can all relate to, since when we are little, we are taught by our parents to do good deeds so that we can grow as a good person.
I think the lesson I found myself being related to deontology, wherein I act or do things based on my rational will, and I do my duties because I believe this is the best way to do as long as it will conceive my rational will.
Deontology.
So, I believe that one of the best way to fully understand the lesson in ethics is to relate or immerse yourself into it. Besides, the primary concern of the study of ethics is the individual's morality. So it is a lot easier for us to relate to the subject. And I think the lesson I can relate to the most is the virtue ethics, because basically the key element of this approach of ethics is the individual's character. And for an individual to be called a moral virtuous person, he or she must practice good habits like honesty, kindness, and traits that are associated and appropriate to be called high moral standard behaviors. So personally, I am an active member of my church, and they teaches us to set standards for ourselves in order for us to attain character development and also to guide our decision making. And virtue ethics differs from any consequentialist approach of ethics, like utilitarianism, deontology, which proves the saying, the utilitarianism proves the saying, the ends justify the means.
Utilitarianism in terms of making decisions for the greatest happiness of the greatest number of the family.
Virtue ethics, because it made me realize that we should not just focus on our achievements but also on our mistakes. Yes, it's true that we sometimes get lessons from our mistakes, and that therefore will make us a better person.
In the virtue ethics, I think it is the most important one to remember, especially us, that we will deal with people in the future. Having a knowledge on virtues can help us in terms of our decisions and paths in life.
I think that the lesson that I relate to the most is all about the Filipino characteristics and all about the Filipino citizenship values.
Amidst of finding it difficult to learn ethics virtually, give some valuable insight that you got from your ethics class experience that you think you are most proud of.
I think the ethics class experience that I am most proud of is that this journey gives me a hard time to think, to apply the lessons in real life circumstances, which taught me to judge the situations rightly and to decide which moral action should be performed.
A lot of struggles and difficulties I encounter on these subjects. A lot of pressures and activities, but I am proud to say that at the end of this semester, I am well educated and have integrity. The topics or lessons that I encounter in this ethics will improve my personality or behavior to become a better person.
Ethics class in Colegio de Santa Lourdes is relevant in terms of giving information to the student. The way delivered information is different from other schools.
So actually, when I am in the process of learning the ethics subject, the most common principle I find almost in every lesson is the fact that we human beings have a rational mind and we have the capability to sort things out because we have knowledge. And it is the central fulcrum of an individual. I mean, we have the agency to act for ourselves. We are responsible for the consequences of our actions. And aside from the fact that we are only after of what we think is good for us, we sometimes compromise ourselves to the point that we forgot to evaluate and assess if we are still doing the right thing.
I think ethics class experience that I am most proud of is that after those long readings and difficult activities to answer, still I managed to pass it before the deadline.
I felt so proud about myself that I finally understood the topic despite of those long and confusing readings.
In the virtual ethics class, I learned that there are things that should be analyzed deeply and not viewing it in the literal aspect. We must have the proper etiquette and use it wisely with a purpose. So the course may be hard, but if we think deeply and apply it in real life situations, we can truly learn from the lessons easily as expected.
So the valuable insight that I got from the ethics class that I experienced and I'm proud of is how to stand by my own, and for being a nurse student, I learned how to manage myself because when it comes in ethics subjects, there is so different tasks to do. So in this subject, I became more active.
What do you think will be the trademark of the CSLLFI ethics class?
I think the trademark of CSLLFI ethics class is difficult to understand but worth it to apply.
I think the trademark of CSLLFI ethics class is difficulties and challenges will make you successful, and ethics will help you to become a better person.
Obligate the student to engage reasoning and life and death matters to make sure that these values positively take part in developing students' life.
So, no pambobola intended. I think because of Sir Don, CSLLFI ethics will stand out to the point that it will become a trademark because of the approach. I mean, the way Sir Don gives or sent modules to the classroom. Yes, Sir Don gives us modules that have so many pages and it consists of many words, and sometimes we feel overwhelmed by it. But when we come to think of it, it is worthy because he explained almost everything, and the only thing we have to do is study it out with the real intent to learn, and we have to relate ourselves into it and apply it if it's possible. I think because also of the comprehensive details of each modules, the learning in a new normal setup of ethics becomes easier for me. And I think Sir Don becomes flexible and he exercise adaptability on each student as he understands the burdens of every student, which is nice.
The ethics class in CSLLFI is beautiful and wonderful because the students develops their thinking capacity in order to read and understand.
The edge of CSLLFI ethics class would help the students develop their independency since CSLLFI is a student-centered school.
A molder not only the students but to all.
So, I think the trademark of the CSLLFI ethics class is sprightly.
Ethics
Is knowing the
Difference between
What you have
A right to do
And what is
Right to do.